Now on KGW News, caught up in a crash between two speeding cars.
It's ripped a huge hole in all of our hearts.
Friends remember an innocent victim killed during a deadly week on the roads. Plus, Oregon voters sent a message saying senators who walk off the job too long can't run for office again. So why did some Republicans just announce a new campaign? And it may be one of Oregon's most Instagrammable spots, but safety concerns could lead to big changes at the Blue Pool. But first, remembering the security guard shot and killed protecting patients at a local hospital.
He was a 1 in a million. He was.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Evan Watson, in for David tonight. That security guard, Bobby Smallwood, was killed while on the job Saturday at Legacy Good Samaritan Hospital in Northwest Portland. Tonight, police say the suspect was Pontiac's King Cowles. He was shot and killed by officers when they caught him in Gresham. The Oregonian reports Cowles was at the hospital because his partner was giving birth. He'd been reportedly threatening his partner and hospital staff. Sources told the paper Cowles got into the face of a nurse, and that's when the security guard stepped between them and was shot. A former co-worker of Smallwood was not surprised to hear about his bravery. She says Bobby was always looking out for others. Catherine Cook spoke with her tonight. Catherine.
Evan, she tells me it was in Bobby's nature to put others' safety before his own. And she says that was true even before he became a security guard.
We knew that when Bobby would be with us at work, that it would be a good day.
Before Bobby Smallwood was shot and killed at Legacy Good Samaritan Saturday, before he became a security guard, and before he could ever know he would die in the line of duty, Bobby spent his days sitting next to Abby Dumitrake. 8, 10, sometimes 12-hour days at Legacy Mount Hood Medical Center in Gresham. There, they were screeners during the peak of the pandemic. They made sure those who entered the hospital were fit to do so. It wasn't always easy.
When there was escalation, he would always say, Abby, move, I got this. He was that type of person. He always put himself in the ring of fire. That was his nature. That was him.
Abby and Bobby worked together for more than a year. In that time, she says the two became good friends and shared many long conversations.
He did tell me that he eventually wants to settle down, get married, have kids, go to bigger, better things. He loved math. I know he loved math. He always talked about it.
And he also studied it. Bobby majored in mathematics and statistics at Portland State University. He also worked at the campus food pantry. In 2020, an article published on PSU's website noted Bobby wanted students to know that help was always available to everyone who needed it. "We will always be there," he said. None of it surprises Abby.
He was a 1 in a million. He was.
Perhaps the only thing that surprises her and so many others was that Bobby, 6'5" and solid muscle, never used his stature to scare or intimidate. His true strength, she says, was in his character.
He always used to say it doesn't cost anything to be kind. Yeah.
In Southwest Portland, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Thanks, Catherine. Lovely to learn more about him. We have continuing coverage of the shooting, including an exclusive interview with one man who described how he unknowingly became a getaway driver for the suspect in the moments when police caught up to them. That's on KGW.com and KGW Plus on your Roku and Fire TV apps. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. Fire crews are working to extinguish this house fire in Southwest Portland. This is viewer video of the burning home along Southwest Beaverton-Hillsdale Highway near Shoals Ferry. It's unclear if anyone was inside. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue says westbound lanes are closed at Dogwood Lane as crews investigate. A worker has died in a fall in Northwest Portland's industrial area. Officials say that worker fell about 40 or 50 feet into an empty fuel tank. It happened this afternoon near St. John's Bridge. The rescuers were able to enter the tank and reach the worker, but unfortunately, they could not save him. And two teens are facing attempted murder charges following a shooting in Northeast Portland. It started around 2:30 this morning near the intersection of Northeast 82nd and Fremont. Officers found 10 bullet casings and a bullet that had hit a Domino's pizza store. One of the suspects has been identified as 18-year-old Julius Whitehurst. The other suspect is just 15 years old. Police also confiscated an AR-15 during the arrests. Now to your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino. Matt, the winds are something you're keeping an eye on, right?
Yeah, Evan, that's always a concern when it cools down on the west side. Still very warm on the east side. We get really strong winds over in eastern Oregon mainly. And look at the winds up at the Cascades. They were blowing about 40, 45 miles an hour up to 7,000 foot elevation mark on Mount Hood. And you see the clouds cruising over. We got some glimpses of the mountain, but it was a cool day all around the northwest. And yes, there was rain. But look at Doppler radar right now. The last of our showers dying off over Clark and Cowlitz counties here. So that's about it. I don't think we get any more here in the Portland area. We didn't really get much anyway. Only Hillsborough recorded measurable rain in the metro area itself. As you can see, a little bit on the coast, 1700s up at Astoria. But most of the really substantial rain for this was up in Washington, over an inch, in fact, on the Olympic Peninsula, in 7/10 nearly at Hoquiam. So some pretty good rainfall there. So again, sprinkles mainly, if not completely, over already. Tomorrow, sunshine and warm weather return, but there's no excessive heat in the forecast. We actually have a really pleasant week ahead to finish off the month of July. More on this a bit later. Evan?
Thank you, Matt. New tonight, a group of Oregon Senate Republicans announced their plans to run for re-election in 2024. The group includes Senator Tim Knopp and Senator Dennis Linthicum. You may remember that they were both part of a Senate walkout earlier this year and exceeded 10 absences. According to Measure 113 passed by voters last year, that would disqualify them from serving as senator for another term. Still, Senate Republicans said they plan to test that law in court if they have to. But first, Knopp says he's asking the new Secretary of State for a ruling on his and others' eligibility.
Well, the Secretary of State is, I think, considering a declaratory ruling on whether or not we can have ballot access for those who have gone past the 10 unexcused absences. We think if the people actually knew what was going to happen before they voted on Measure 113, I don't think they would have voted for it.
68% of Oregonians supported that measure. The Secretary of State's office says it's reviewing this matter and will have an update later. Knopp says Republicans ended their walkout because they made a deal with Democrats this summer, but he said next year they would consider walking out yet again if Democrats, quote, go back to their old ways. In an update tonight, friends and loved ones are mourning the deaths of 3 people killed after a crash in southeast Portland last week. Police believe the wreck was the result of street racing, but one of the victims wasn't a part of that racing. Alma McCarty spoke with Julie Skeen's lifelong best friend. Alma?
Yeah, Evan, her friends tell me 55-year-old Julie Skeen was delivering for DoorDash that night, one of a couple jobs she did to make ends meet. She was in the car with her husband, almost done with work for the night, when another driver slammed into her car as she was turning onto Southeast Powell.
You didn't meet a nicer, more genuine person. You just didn't.
Brokenhearted and bewildered, Jody King's best friend of more than 40 years gone after a deadly crash in southeast Portland.
I don't know what life looks like without Julie. I really don't. My life is forever altered after this. We were supposed to roll together, and be 2 crazy old ladies. That was our plan.
Police identified her as one of 3 people killed after a wreck at the intersection of Southeast Powell Boulevard and 63rd Avenue last Thursday night. Julie Skeen was trying to turn her Lexus onto Powell. Her driver's side struck by a BMW, allegedly street racing another car eastbound. Officers say 18-year-old twins, Hannah and Grace Fetters, the driver and passenger of the BMW, died at the scene. Julie died not long after, at the hospital.
There were some factors there that shouldn't have happened. If those factors wouldn't have happened, she'd still be here with us and we wouldn't be going through this right now. But she, was doing DoorDash to make ends meet right now. And her husband went with her for every single one of them. It was like the last thing that she was doing for the night.
Police say the passenger in the Lexus, Julie's husband, Justin, was treated for serious injuries.
We had some great injuries, a broken sternum. And, when you're trying to heal from all that at the same time that you just lost your wife, who she was a great caregiver. Julie took care of everybody and she took care of Justin.
Jody says she wants people to know what a bright light her best friend was,
how caring, how funny, and how loyal, as they plan now to lay her to rest.
The world's not going to be right without her. They lost a huge heart in this world, and she shouldn't be gone.
Just an absolute tragedy. Jody says they haven't settled on a funeral or memorial date for Julie, but they are raising money to do that properly. We will have a link on KGW.com.